Here's my unheard of methods of how to actually shape your golf ball with irons, and even with a 4-iron or 5-iron, any iron in fact. Now, there's a different approach to fade that actually will mean you are powerful. So a fade doesn't have to always be a shorter shot, it actually could end up being a longer one. We've got to think about the toe and the heel, where it is there, and finally, draw is actually an easy shot to do once you get your ball position to correspond correctly. And this is something that I touched on in a previous video here on the channel just last week, and the response was like, Alex, draw, I need this information, which clearly means a lot of club golfers are struggling with the shot. We've talked about it with driver, it's now time to cover it with irons. The first thing I need you to do is trust me. We're going to make that fade powerful, get that fade time some distance. So we need to establish target first. So this alignment stick I have on the ground right here is pointing right to the middle of the green. I never ever go after flags. I think that's just a recipe for disaster. So our target line, our ball target line, is pointing at the middle of the green. And I think that's where a lot of us go wrong. We sort of lose where target is, then it's hard to get our orientation down the ground. The next thing, I'm going to use another golf club here, and please, 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 do this for me this winter, because I want to make you good. Okay, so our club path needs now to be pointing somewhere left of target. So let's just say we're going to swing, and when I'm saying club path, the direction our club is swinging in relation to target. We need it to be traveling to the left by some amount. Now, the more you travel to the left, the more the difference there is in a face, the more the ball will move. But let's just say, nice and simple, we need our club path to travel from out to in. Dead easy, out to in. Now, I need you to listen really closely to what I'm going to say right here. This is the stumbling block. And when I said people go to weak, horrible, high, poor fade shots, this is the bit where if you get it right, it can actually be very powerful. Where does our face have to be at impact? At that point, it strikes the golf ball. This is key. We need our face to be, and this is the wording, open to our club path, but not pointing right of target. So what that looks like down here is we're swinging down this point here, just there. Our face is open to our path, but not pointing right of this line. And that's key. Once it points right of this line, that's when we go weak. That's when we go not very powerful. That's when the golf ball, and what you'll see on the golf course, a slice and a shot that always finishes short of target. If you keep your face open to your path, but not pointing right of target, so let's say in the gap here at impact, then you start to hit powerful fade shots that are under control, that move slightly left to right, travel longer, and hit more greens. Now, we do have some real-time data here to show you this and just give you the real facts of what's happening. So you're probably thinking now, Alex, how do I make sure I'm swinging left of target? How do I make sure my face is in the right position at impact? This is what I was meaning at the start, about the toe and the heel. So the first thing we need to do is move the ball up in our stance and aim a little bit left. And that's just simply look like this. So if that's where we're aiming normally, and that's my normal 4-iron ball position, roughly around here, I want to move it half a ball forward, and now aim a little bit left of target, just like that. Now you might want to move quite a way left to start with, just to encourage more movement, to get used to seeing the ball move that way, in a powerful way. Then I have my face pointing between these two lines, okay? That's what I think about. Now, look at this, right? If you're lucky enough to be teeing it up off a tee, which is where we might most likely use our long irons, you can use a little bit of a trick. You can use the line on your golf ball. So see where it says drive on my vice ball right there? I just point that where I want my face to point come impact. So if you look at that straight from down the line, you'll see it's dissecting my path and my ball to target line. My path and my ball to target line. So that's a real key way of doing that, and a real great visual just to keep reminding yourself. Now, I do appreciate that can only be done when you're teeing it up, or in the winter if you're doing placing, but something that you could work towards visualizing, and a great little cue to help you with that. So this is the setup. Normal ball position and aim straight to begin with. Move the ball up in our stance, aim a little bit left, have your face pointing just to the left of target, but right of where you're swinging. Now, to ensure this happens, and this is really, really key, because I know you're thinking, Alex, I don't know if I can really trust it, guarantee it. In the golf swing, right, the club face, believe it or not, is always wanting to close. The golf swing's on an arc, so if I swing my hands here, the golf swing is wanting to close. Now, for some of us, we find this a lot harder. But what I want you to imagine is this vital point. Remember, everything we're trying to control is what's happening at impact. But I like the visual of this. A foot after the golf ball, when I'm trying to hit a fade, to have my face open to my path, but left of target, I want to feel like my heel and my toe of my club are in line. So like that. From player cam there, just like that. That's all I'm looking at, all I'm picturing. And I would do this, like I'd stand there and go, right, whoosh, that's what I'm trying to get. Whoosh, that's what I'm trying to get. Whoosh, that's what I'm trying to get. Every single time. Okay, let me hit the shot. Let me show you the data. Let's see this ball fly with a powerful fade. Woo! That is the move. Look at that fading onto flag. That was like an absolute rocket. Now look at this data. This is absolutely key. First off, that carried 202 yards. So the three numbers I'm bothered about here are these: club path, face to path, and face angle. So my club path there, and I've exaggerated this to really move this ball to show you, is traveling minus 8.1, okay? My face is 4 degrees open to my path, but this is key. Face angle. This is face angle in relation to that line there, my target. It's actually closed. So I've got what we said: a left path, a face open to path, but pointing left of target. And that data you can see right here, minus 8.1, face 4.6 open, and minus 3.5 relative to target is exactly that. Straight shot. Please, 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 never ever try and hit a straight shot. It's the worst thing you can possibly do. I would personally never teach anybody to try and hit a straight shot. Yes, I would try and get them to hit it straighter, but never a straight shot. It's so hard to hit. Now you're probably thinking, Alex, well, if I hook the golf ball, how do I hit it straighter? I've just shown you. Try and fade it. Left path, face open to path, but not pointing right of target. Now, I mentioned I'm using my Vice golf balls right here. If you want 10% off on any order, just use this code AEGolf right now. Okay, let's talk draw. I mentioned straight, right? If you want straight, that means getting a 0 path, 0 face to path, and a target. That's so hard. Just find a pattern, find a pattern. Okay, drawing the golf ball. The response when we talked about this was driver was crazy. So let's try and get you to do it. In fact, let's rephrase it, Alex. I am going to get you to do this with your irons. I am. So the first thing, we've already established this. This is our target, pointing straight towards the middle of the green. We now need to move this, the direction in which we're swinging. Instead of being out to in, it needs to be in to out. So like I had you concentrating on swinging down that club line with the fade, I want you to do the same now, but point it slightly to the right of target. Now when you're learning this, place it on the ground. But once you've got this nailed, you can visualize that little triangle and where your face has got a point. So again, I repeat this is where people go wrong, and they go from slicing it to hooking it because they get the face far too closed. At impact, we need this. We need our club path to be traveling in to out. So down this line, like here, and this is the real key bit. We need our face to be closed to our path. So when we look at this data shortly, that'll be a negative number relative to our club path. Now this is the bit that's hard to understand, and I don't blame you. We need our face that's close to our path, so a negative number, but open / pointing right of target. As soon as you get that face close to path and target, that ball ends up going over there. Weak, horrible, low, hooky, terrible ball flights. You get my point. Now, as I did with the fade, if you can, have a look at this down here. I point the line of my golf ball right in between target and where I'm roughly going to be swinging. So let's say that's where I'm swinging. Let's say that's target. I'm pointing it right in between. So here's a real nice simple visual and an illustration of what's actually happening at impact. I think this really just goes, and I know it does because I show this little visual right here I'm showing you to so many of my students. So you're now thinking, Alex, like with the fade, how do I guarantee this? And by the way, this is how you stop slicing it, which I know is so key. Okay, so how do you guarantee it? The first thing we need to think about is aim and ball position. You can start to see a pattern here, can't you? Of things you can trust. So let's get our ball position here as again, we start in the same position we had with fade. Now for draw, we move it slightly back in our stance, okay? We then aim slightly up to the right hand side of target, okay? Slightly up the right to help us swing in that direction. Now, we all find draw a lot harder to do, don't we? We do. Let's just be honest. I do, and I know you do. So let's help you with the face. So when your face is pointing here, don't put your hands on yet. So really think about it, right? You've moved it back in your stance. You've aimed right. Now you're going to get your face to aim in between where you're aiming and slightly right of target. You're then going to put your hands on now. Put your hands on last minute. Look at my face. It's closed relative to my hands. It just gives me a little helping hand. It really does. It allows me to get my face close to path, but right of target. So let's think about now, before we hit this shot, where's our face going to be a foot after impact? I want you now to have the toe overtaking the heel. So look at this on player cam. We now want the toe to overtake the heel, more like there. That was fade, this is draw. Now to do that, there's a few things that are going to be happening. We've obviously done as much as we can at address, but you might need to feel a little flexion in the lead wrist. You might need to feel a little more forearm rotation. And I'll be honest with you, these are things I say to my students, have a feel, have a play, see what happens to the ball flight. This is the routine I'd follow on the course. Move it slightly back, aim up the right, adjust my face, hands on, mimic that. Mimic that. Oh, coming round, start up that right, that wind buffering it, but that was a cracker of a shot. Okay, this is so key. Let's look at this data right here. Now the wind's off our left today, it's a really important point, so it's sort of buffering the wind. But at impact, we had a club path a long way to the right. We had our face close to our path, okay, but slightly to the right of target. So now we're getting the right numbers, what we're looking for. Now, as I said, I find draw a lot harder than fade, and I know you do too. So there's little things you can feel. Let me just pause this. There's little things you can feel with those wrists, with that setup, to really aid a draw over a fade. Thanks so much for watching this free, simple golf tip on how to actually maneuver your golf ball.